Hello everyone, this is Anurag Mishra and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to be talking about a topic that's been on a lot of people's mind lately. It's China getting an advantage of India by importing rice. As you know, India is the world's largest producer of rice and China is the world's largest importer of rice. In recent years, China has been increasing its import of rice from India, and this has led to some concern that China is getting an unfair advantage. One of the main concerns is that Indian government subsidize rice production. This means that Indian farmers receives financial assistance from the government to help them grow rice. This subsidy helps to keep the price of the rice in India artificially low. When China imports rice from India, is able to get it as a much of lower price than it would if it imported it from other countries. This is because Indian government's subsidy helps to keep the price of Indian rice down. Another concern is that rate of rice is India is higher than in China. This means that Indian farmers are able to make more money by selling rice to China than they would if they sold it to domestic market. In addition to these concerns, it's important to consider that amount of water used in producing rice. Rice is very water intensive crop and it takes a lot of water to grow on it. On average, it takes about 2,500 liters of water to produce 1 kilogram of rice. This means that China is increasing imports of rice from India are putting a strain on India's water resources. India is already a water stressed country and its water resources are not infinite. If China continues to import large amounts of rice from India, it could have a negative impact of India's water security. So is China getting an advantage of India by importing rice? The answer is it depends. On the one hand, China is able to get rice at a much lower price than it would if it imported it from other countries. On the other hand, the Indian government subsidy helps to keep the price of rice in India artificially low, which hurts Indian farmers, and the increasing imports of rice from India are putting a strain on India's water resources. Ultimately, it's up to the Indian government to decide whether or not it wants to continue subsidize rice production. If the government decides to stop subsidizing rice production, then the price of rice in India would go up. This would hurt Indian farmers, but it would also make it more difficult for China to get an advantage of India by importing rice. Some additional thoughts: you should understand that the Indian government's rice subsidy is a complex issue and there are pros and cons to it. On the one hand, the subsidy helps to keep the price of rice low for Indian consumers. On the other hand, it can lead to the overproduction and environmental problems. China's increasing imports of the rice from India are a sign of the growing economic ties between the two countries. However, it is important to ensure that these ties are mutually beneficial. The Indian government should carefully consider the pros and cons of its rice subsidy before making any changes. It is important to strike balance between keeping the price of rice low, consuming, and ensure that Indian farmers are able to make a fair living. India should also invest the water conservation and efficiency measures to reduce the amount of water used in rice production. This would help to produce India's water resources and ensure that country can continue to produce rice for its own people and for export. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe Geetananda.